Hi guys, thanks so much for watching The Social Life, the place to be for entrepreneurs with a purpose. Today I'm going to be talking to you about fiscal sponsorships. I want to give you the lowdown on really what it's like to have a fiscal sponsor. Now, many of you have seen my video on how to start your nonprofit before you have a 501c3. That's how I really learned about fiscal sponsorships and how they work and all of that, because I had to go through it. So, one of the things that you'll want to, one of the most important things that you'll want to know about fiscal sponsorships is that when someone takes your project on as a project under their 501c3, it actually is a little bit of a burden to them. So it's really important to kind of have your ducks in a row, really know what you want to use the 501c3 for, use their 501c3 for, and how you plan to basically report and all of that back to them. These are some of the critical things that you'll need to know. I'm going to go through 5 today, just so you have an idea of what you're getting into when you ask for a fiscal sponsorship. But when I say this, it's going to sound like a little bit of work. It's going to sound like some things that you may or may not want to do, but you really have to come from the perspective of they're allowing you to start early, but it is also a burden on them for you to actually start your 501c3 under them. So if you don't have one right now, they're really starting a project with you, but this is a great way to build a partnership. Say you need a building or something and you really want to get started, but you can't afford to get your building right now. You just need a place to actually hold your services or do your programs or whatever it is. So I got this question from Larry on my Social Life Diaries email, and he was basically asking, what do I need to know about a fiscal sponsorship? Are there any terms and things that I need to know? So there are 5 key things that you need to know when you're starting a fiscal sponsorship. So let's jump right in. Number 1 is there are fees, and I think this is probably one of the biggest surprises when people are looking to do fiscal sponsorships. There are actually fees that go along with a fiscal sponsor, and they will take these funds from your funds that you raise. So let's say you have an event and you're running under a fiscal sponsor. They can take anywhere from 2 to 8% of whatever you do bring in. And so that's really important for you to know, because now you need to maybe fundraise a little more than that 2 to 8% so that you can bring in your final amount for your organization that maybe you were budgeting for. Now, although it sounds like, oh, I can't believe they're taking 2 to 8%. 2 to 8%, 2% is extremely generous. 8% is pretty high, but it's still the norm. So under 10% is pretty normal. And basically, they are doing, depends on what they're giving you and all of that. Like if they're doing your expenses and they're doing your finances and maintenance and providing maybe a building for you, and so they're paying for the electricity and all the things that you need, or they're partnering with you to do an event and you're using their name. There are things that you're getting from it. And like I have said in my Profitable Partnerships live training, one of the things that you actually need to focus on is what you are providing to them. When you go to a fiscal sponsor, yes, you are asking them so that they can help you. But on the other hand, you're also asking to do something and partner with them, right? So if you're going to partner with someone, you should be bringing something to the table. Whether that means, hey, I can offer my services to your group of, your network of people, or to your group of kids, or your customer base, or whatever it is, you should be bringing something. So try to think about how you're offering something to the sponsor. Next thing you need to know is when those funds do come in. So when I was receiving money from anything I was doing during that time that I didn't have my 501c3, I had to direct people to write the check with the name going, with the funds going directly to the 501c3, who is my main 501c3, and then in the memo they put Launchpad for Kids. So it wasn't a check written directly to me. So if you're accepting funds and you want to be under a 501c3, or you currently are under a 501c3, you do need to have them write the check or give the funds to the 501c3, and then the 501c3 will disperse a check to. That leads me right into the third thing you need to know. The third thing you need to know is when those funds will be dispersed. So if your 501c3 that you're under can only write checks quarterly, then you have to budget yourself and your programs to work on a quarterly budget. So say you may get a check, every week, and they don't disperse until, the quarterly payment. So you won't have any of those funds, even though those funds are coming in, you won't have any of those funds until they actually disperse that check from their checking account to you. So those two things are pretty major. Like, you have to make sure that you understand when you'll be receiving your funds and all of that. And you have to make sure that your donors understand that you are a project under this 501c3, and you can explain to them that, you are working towards your own 501c3 and that eventually you'll get there. But for now, they have to make the check payable to here, and then they also get the tax deduction, and that helps your donors as well. So start there. The fourth thing you need to know is that there is reporting required. Now, you are receiving these funds, and that's great, and they've agreed to be part of, whatever your project is, and that's fantastic too. But the next thing you need to know is that you have to give back reporting. You're going to have to report what you did with those funds, where those funds went, all of that, so that they understand, they can look back and they can report on where the funds that came in went, and then what that project did. So basically, they are now, since you may not have a board at this time, they are now your fiscal agent. They are basically making sure that you're doing the right things with your, with your money, and that you're being responsible, and that you're putting it where you say you're going to, and that you're taking the donors' funds and you're using that. So reporting will be required, and that's important to know. And that basically is my fourth tip. You will have to just do reporting. That's also something that you'll have to agree on. So that brings me to my last one. The last and most important thing, I think, is that you need to have a memorandum of understanding, also known as an MOU, which is just basically a formal agreement that's written out. It doesn't have to be formal, but it is a formal agreement that's written out. You both agree to certain terms, and some of those terms would be: when am I getting funding? When will I receive my funding? How much of a fee are you taking out? When do I need to report to you, and what do I need to report on? Both are essentially going into this protecting yourselves, okay? That memorandum of understanding is truly what will save both of you on this, because they are taking on a lot of responsibility, and then also you are giving up a lot of control. I had an amazing fiscal sponsorship. I went through a foundation in town, and I went through an organization that was even under another 501c3 that would oversee their funds. And honestly, I can't tell you, I was given a lot of control over what I wanted to do. I just had to report on my expenses and like what I wanted to do, but they knew, and I just, as a word of advice, like, I did go into my fiscal sponsorship with someone that I knew very well. They knew me very well, and I was able to tell them that I really wanted to keep control over what I wanted to do. I told them my end goal, which was to be my own 501c3 and be out on my own and do my own thing. And that I had a very specific way that I wanted to run the program, and I already had people that I wanted to have on my board. And so when you're starting out with a fiscal sponsor or a fiscal agent, you want to also know how much control you'll have over your idea, because it is your idea and it is your baby. And so you want to make sure that you have the amount of control that you feel comfortable with. But you also have to understand that they are taking you on and basically doing you a favor. So you'll have to find, a way for you guys to meet in the middle. And that's where that memorandum of understanding comes in, that you'll need to really get your program started and get, all of that going. Now, the other thing is, in that memorandum of understanding, you may also want to write in when the fiscal sponsorship will take place and start to take effect, how they would like their names written on your information, because they may have a specific name or specific branding that they want to be associated with your branding, or your, anything that you put out, what needs to go where, how would they like themselves branded with your program? Are you guys going to be considered partners? Are you going to be considered a fiscal agent? Like, what do they want to see from you on your branding? Can you mention them on social media? Like, these are the types of things that you'll want to ask when you are creating your memorandum of understanding. So that's it. When you're going to start your fiscal sponsorship and you're looking to find a fiscal sponsor, it's a lot easier to ask someone to be your fiscal sponsor when you already know that you're coming in and you're asking them to inconvenience themselves a little bit to help you. You already know that there's a fee on the table, and you know that that you're going to have to you'll have to convince them to be your fiscal sponsor. And it's just a little bit different when you're going and asking someone cold, obviously. But if you go in with something prepared with these types of things on there, or you're willing to at least discuss these things, it would be a lot easier to get a fiscal agent this way. So I hope that helped you guys this week, and I will see you on Thursday. Thank you so much for watching.